Alright, so this is probably going to get pieced together into a longer gnome grown video later on, but I have harvested, I have blanched, and I am now in the sweeting process for the vanilla beans that I grew in the yard. Got into a bit of a tricky situation where my beans had actually begun to split. This is an example of what a split bean looks like. And so what that means is that I had allowed them to stay on the vine for too long. And if we take a look inside here, a little bit of vanilla orchid anatomy for you. So this is what the inside of that looks like. And you can see here there was already a little bit of maybe some mold forming. But everything you see down in there, all that kind of greasy caviar looking stuff, those are vanilla orchid seeds. Orchid seeds are incredibly small. And so, as far as I can tell in, the literature that I've reviewed and the videos I've watched, you really do want to let your vanilla orchids stay on the vine absolutely as long as possible. Now, I only had 2 of the 20 that I grew begin to split like this. But when they start to split, that's a sign they've gone too far. And so I went ahead and pulled them, and I started the curing process. Now, to cure your vanilla orchids, you're going to want to boil some water on a stove, and then you're going to want to use a temperature gun or a thermometer, and you're going to want to blanch them at 65 degrees Celsius for 3 to 5 minutes. And then once they're blanched, you want to take them somewhere, set them out, lay them all in a row, and I probably should have gotten a video while I was doing this. I patted mine dry, not super hard, but just lightly, with a paper towel. And then once I had them on a paper towel, I rolled them up in a cloth towel, and that's kind of the traditional style that I've found from other videos, and I'm going to link to some of those videos when I put this up. I wrapped them up in a towel, and then I put them in a Tupperware container type thing, and then I am going to cure them at 103 degrees Fahrenheit for 48 hours. And this process is called sweeting the beans. And what you're doing when you sweet the beans is you are killing the enzymatic process that results in ripening, and you are activating a bunch of other enzymes that are going to begin the process of the formation of vanillin from the plant materials that are in the seed pods. And so what this is going to do is it's going to kill some enzymes, and it's going to open up some other enzymatic processes. And after that, you begin the rest of the curing process, which is going to involve opening them and closing them every day for a period of a couple weeks until they're fully cured. Now, I'm using a temperature-controlled food dehydrator. This one is a Kosori brand, and it gives me the option to control both the temperature as well as I can set a timer for how long I want that to run. So I've got pretty fine control over how well that's going to do. Now let's take another second and just talk about what's going on with these vanilla bean seeds as well. So we really should be calling them pods. They aren't a bean. Beans are the fruit of the legume family. These are pods. They are the fruits of the orchid family, which is its own deal. So they're orchid pods. Perfectly fine to call them beans, but just understand that the right term is pods. Now, why do orchids have so many seeds, right? And it's because they're not investing a lot individually into these seeds, right? So the probability of germination from one of these seeds from an orchid pod is very, very low. But that's why I cut these off. I actually want to plant these in the yard, and I'm gonna roll the dice on these and see if I get any new baby orchid vines from these. It's incredibly unlikely that I would, and in an ideal situation, I used to have a home tissue culture lab. I kind of gave that up. I even went so far as to build my own sterile hood for tissue culturing orchids. I grew vanilla orchids indoors for years, never got a pod, moved to the tropics. This is the first time I'm actually able to get pods from these. So In retrospect, maybe I should have kept my sterile tissue culture gear around. But I'm gonna go raw and throw this thing in the yard and put it at the base of the plumeria tree where I've got my orchids growing up, and I'm just gonna roll the dice with it. It's a very low likelihood that I'll get a successful germination out of that, but that's fine. I wanted to cut these off to get a cleaner product from my orchids. Now, some videos that I've seen where they process them, they don't cut them off. They actually just tie them closed and use them that way. But because I was interested in a little bit of seed material, I thought it'd be fine to try this. So I'll be adding another couple minutes of content to this once the process is done. I'm also going to be checking in on these every couple of hours. But yeah, so to kind of review the process, once your vanilla beans are ripe and you really want to let them vine ripen as long as you possibly can, so they're going to start yellowing at the tips. It's a bit of a balancing act because the closer you get to that point, the more likely they are to split. But once you're ready, you harvest the whole pod and then you blanch the pods in 65°C water, and then after 3 minutes of blanching, you pat them dry, and then after patting them dry, you put them into a fermenter at 40°C or 103°F for 48 hours, and that will be the fermentation process. I'll make another video in a couple of days, and we'll see how this goes. Stay gnome grown.